Anyway, how you doing, Freddy? I watch your show. I think it's very interesting. My brother and he lives in Yonkers. I live up in the Greenberg area, and he got me hooked on watching your podcast.
Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping. Let's get it popping.
Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today. Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today.
Freddy wins. Big talent.
Good evening, folks. Happy Friday. It's Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Rally for tenants' rights, plus more. Join me.
Freddy. TGIF. I am Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Hope you are having a lovely evening. The weekend's here. That's always a good thing, right, folks? Unless, of course, you have to get up early in the morning and go to work. Justice for CJ, thank you. Absolutely. Today, I want to talk about a few things before I come on later with Anthony DiMaggio. So definitely make sure you stay tuned for that. I want to talk about earlier today, I was at a rally in front of the courthouse, and I want to talk about it because it just, adds to what I've already been saying in terms of the evictions that have been happening here in the city of Yonkers. Yes, it's happening across the country, but we're talking about Yonkers. And I've seen this. I've been to the tenant court because I had some issues with my landlady over at the daycare center. Just more issues that I'm being, get dealt with, right, because of all this stuff that I'm doing here in the Basement Politics. But as I was there, I just saw a lot of people going before the judge, and one of the attorneys there, and I bring him up a lot, is Andy Romano, but not to pick on him, but he's known, he's well known. His brother's Dan Romano. I'm sorry, not the judge, an attorney. His brother Dan Romano is a judge who got into the game and political game here, utilizing the services of Zahi Jeris. He got him elected when actually they wanted, I forgot who it was actually they wanted, but it wasn't him, but Zahi made it happen. He became judge. But Andy is like the king of the court, right? He's the judge, everything, the jury, the executioner, right? And so he's in there and he's very comfortable in that courtroom. And he at times was basically telling the judge what was going to happen, right? So I said, this guy runs the court, runs everything here. And me mentioning him and some other things and that are going on here in the city of Yonkers, like insider trading. When we talk about real estate transactions, right? I got a call from his office, and I spoke to a lovely young lady there for quite some time, actually, and she was defending Andy Romano. And I didn't say he was a bad guy. All I'm saying is that there are a lot of people being evicted. And today, members of the community, members of other communities here in Westchester County, members of organizations such as the Yonkers Sanctuary Movement and others came together in front of the courthouse here today to rally for tenant rights. They're looking for legislation that makes it mandatory that or an attorney be appointed to an individual or individuals that are appearing before a judge in an eviction case. And they're basing this on statistics that show when people are represented by an attorney, 90% of the time, the judgment goes in their favor. So they want to assure that every person, every tenant going before a judge in a tenant eviction case has an attorney, has representation, as you would see that in criminal court, right? Or in criminal trials. Everyone has a right to an attorney. And also that they do not kick people out, evict people out in the middle of winter. And I've seen this. Actually, it was happening just this past winter. Fortunately, as someone mentioned, it was a mild winter. So, those who got evicted, at least didn't have to suffer a brutal winter. And I've also seen, and maybe some of you have as well, where the building department has actually gone in and shut buildings down in the middle of winter, just before the holidays. And I remember one incident where a building was shut down on Park Hill and just before Christmas, and people broke in and stole the gifts. They knew that they were not there anymore, and they went in. And this actually happens when people have fires, right? They know they're not going to be in there, so they'll break in. They'll try to steal whatever has not been damaged, pipes and stuff like that. So it's very, sad for individuals who are already having financial troubles. They get kicked out of their home in the middle of winter time. It's cold. They don't know where else to go. It's the holidays. Then they have their gifts stolen. So hopefully it can work that out. And so I want to show a little bit of this rally here and make some comments. There were some elected officials there. County Legislator Christopher Johnson was there. Corazon Pineda Isaac as well. Councilwoman from the 3rd District. And some community activists, right? Lorraine Lopez was there. And also candidates who are running for office. Hector Santiago, who's running for Council District 3. And this guy named Freddy Vazquez, who's running for mayor of the city of Yonkers. That's right, folks. And by the way, the guy from, USA Today, he knew me. I was kind of like, yo, that's dope. USA Today, that's a big publication, man. Big publication. Let's play this video here. You can actually see Lorraine Lopez there for tenant rights. Tenant.
Cover formal eviction proceedings in any case that could result in displacement.
Well, I want to show you the crowd there who was there.
It strengthens consequences for landlords who harass or illegally evict tenants during the winter moratorium. It helps tenants in non-payment cases who can clear their rent debt during the moratorium, remain in their homes, and after the moratorium ends. So it gives them a chance to seek help, to secure funding for them to pay rent arrears and not be evicted. So those are the two.
So again, they're fighting for, for tenants to have right to representation, right? When someone gets arrested for a crime, when they read their Miranda rights, they always say you have a right to remain silent. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you. You're right, no charge to you by the state or by whoever. And so they want that same right for tenants who are being evicted. And I know that they do not receive, automatic representation if they cannot afford it, because I've had people, ask to borrow money to pay for attorneys. Very recently, in fact, because they were being evicted. And these are people that were living in apartments that were in conditions that were not livable. And so it was this battle, right, where they didn't want to pay the rent because the apartment is so it's in poor shape, let's say. Health, safety, black mold, there's kids, water damage all over. And so many people are refusing to pay the rent. Landlords are refusing to fix anything up. Building departments getting involved. They're going in there and they're at times giving a fine to the tenants. And I've gotten calls from people now, and I'm starting to see a pattern. Is the building department involved with some of these investors and developers to get people out of their homes? And I'll be talking more about that as I wrote a letter to, by the way, I wrote a letter to Councilwoman Shanae Williams. I hope you can get back to me, your office. It's a pretty, I think, cut and dry thing there. And I'm not sure why you have not been able to help, especially because you work for a real estate attorney, do you not? This guy here was from Scarsdale.
Crucial role in
you can see Chris Johnston coming in the back there. Check him out.
Nonviolent protest of those who spoke out against injustice by sitting at lunch counters they were told weren't for them, by attempting to exercise their county with 7,000.
I'll show Chris Johnson here with his all whites on.
It really amounts to that. It's just not fair. And so what we're asking here is for a level playing field. You have an attorney, I have an attorney. And let's come to the facts, and let's have people that understand the law talk about what is truly at hand. We in Westchester County, I'm the majority leader of the Board of Legislators in Westchester, and we saw this issue pre-COVID. We saw what that meant here in Westchester County with 7,000 evictions in Yonkers and 14,000, I believe, around the county. And so we said we need to do something here in Yonkers, and we started a pilot program with Legal Services of the Hudson Valley to give people attorneys when they got an eviction notice. 90+% of those individuals who got an attorney were able to stay in their homes. 90+%. This works. This works. This is what an equal playing field looks like. When I have the representation that I deserve, and you have the representation that you pay for, and they stand in front of a judge together, and they have a conversation about why I fell behind, about the situation that I'm truly in, and what is at hand, then we have a fair, equitable, just system. And that's all we're looking for. We're looking to make sure that evictions, that they don't, not that they stop, but that unfair evictions stop. That people who pay their rent, people who want to make sure that they're doing the right thing, people who just want to stay in their homes and be good tenants have the ability and the opportunity to do that. We have a bill at the county level because we saw the success here in Yonkers and then we spread it through other parts of the county. So we decided that this should be the law in Westchester, and we have a bill in front of us right now that we desire to pass. But we recognize that what we do in Westchester is not the end because, well, frankly, because there's 20 million people in the state and there'll still be millions of people that wouldn't get the benefit that we want to provide.
So Chris Johnson, their county legislator, who is running for re-election against Shanae Williams, councilwoman, who told someone that asked for help that she didn't know if she can do much. She may not be the council member for that district anymore as she's running for county legislator. Folks over at District 16 in the county, is that what you want to hear from your representative? I support Chris, but Chris, I'm not going to be easy on you. You said yourself that 90% of people who had representation were able to stay in their homes. You just want it to be fair and equitable. Not stop evictions, right? You're very clear. I don't want to not stop evictions, stop the unfair evictions. Well, 90% of the people are able to stay in their homes if they have an attorney, then that means that something is up that you should be looking into. If they're being brought before a judge to be evicted and 90% of them are actually being able to stay, then what's going on? Are they being pressured? Are they being forced out? You should be looking into that as well. But you see how he said not stop evictions because Chris Johnson understands that a lot of attorneys are out there who got money and could contribute to campaigns. He has to play nice. Corazon Pineda Isaac, who's on his team, who he's pretty much, a part of the management and campaign strategy staff, along with Andrea Stewart Cousins' people, gets a lot of money from developers and real estate attorneys, the ones that are representing the landlords, evicting the people, right? So he has to make sure he's very clear on that. I don't want to stop evicting the unfair ones, the 90% of the evictions, those, the unfair ones. What's going on there, Chris? And Corazon as well. She was there. I didn't get her. Not going to help her campaign. Besides, she's a part of the problem. She voted every time along with the mayor. And this is what's happening. So you're a part of the problem. Why didn't you, from the very beginning, say, no, if we do this, we're going to end up here. we're going to be seeing a lot of people getting kicked out of their homes. People are going to lose their jobs. People can't afford these luxury, expensive apartments that, in fact, are built cheaply. You should check out some of the videos I posted on Instagram. A guy's exposing his corporate landlord in these so-called luxury apartments. The loss. This is actually in Westchester County, not in Yonkers, but the guys in Westchester County. And you have to see all the problems they have. And it's not unusual because I've heard that from people here. And Corazon and the rest of the council approved these zoning changes, approved these proposals by these developers. And then now you want to fight for the people? You're burning both ends of the stick, or the candle, I say. That's what you're doing, playing both sides of the fence. And so that is why Chris Johnson has said, I don't want to stop him, because a lot of guys that give us money are trying to get people out, right? So we got to watch what I say. And that's the thing about politics I'm not a big fan of, because I'm not good with that. I say what I feel, what I mean, what I believe is to be the fact, the truth, wherever that may be. And sometimes me saying that gets people who would support me not to support me. That's what I've been told. Well, if they're doing something that I don't believe in, I'm not going to stay shut just so they can support me, because I don't support them. So it makes perfect sense, right? Makes perfect sense. Bats in the hallway living free. Yeah, they had a bat in the hallway in the elevator, right? And so that's my thing. So when I hear these elected officials talking at these rallies and, talking about homelessness and, affordable housing and the education system, I wonder to myself, well, what have you been doing? And a lot of your actions have been, in opposition of that stuff you're talking about now. So I don't get it. Like, be honest, right? Another person that was there that spoke was, I'm sorry, I think I had Hector Santiago laughing, was Lorraine Lopez. Lorraine Lopez, she's been around in politics for a long time, right? She's worked for the Amacone administration. She's worked for the Spano administration. She's had job titles like the one that Michael Sabatino has, Director of Constituent Services, which has been always seems to have been $100,000 a year job. She's had that. She's done a lot of things. She's been taken care of within politics, because Lorraine Lopez can get a voter block. She can get people to sign petitions and come out and vote. And if you can do that, you become very powerful. And so you will get things, you will get favors, and you'll get jobs. And Lorraine Lopez has been one of those individuals, but she's also has had her troubles, right? Troubles with turkeys and Toys for Tots. But that's in the past, right? She's moved on to, doing different things. I want to play, where did I get her at? Yes. So this is Lorraine Lopez talking about her experiences. I don't know. You tell me. But it's so much more complex, and we have to go deeper and find what the issues truly are before they get to the eviction court, right? Why are they ending up in the eviction court to begin with? And I would imagine that as we see taller and taller do with these developments. Let me see. I'm sorry. I just want to get to think about this, or to at least speak up about it and say, no, I'm not going to vote for these expensive luxury apartments and studios, because they're going to push people out. Therefore now. And there we go. Lorraine Lopez.
The first thing that landlord did the day after I fell, she called the people downstairs, and she was very angry. And she wasn't concerned about me. She said she's gonna sue me. So I did. I got an attorney, and I said I'm gonna sue her. And she retaliated. I mean, like, for example, the lights in the hallway.
were off, and I'm crawling to go to my doctor's appointments on my butt, in the darkness. And I called them up and I told them, I can't reach the lights. It's really dark. They didn't care. And they found little bits and pieces. They were picking on me for little things. And what happened was I got a letter that said, you got 90 days to leave. I was advised that just pay no mind, because the landlord was iffy. So I didn't pay no mind. Months passed by. The 3 months passed by. And so I said, okay, I'm good. What happened was I got a letter saying that I had to be in court on Valentine's Day, and I said, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And I had no heads up, no nothing, and it was legal. It was legal, and I said, "Oh, what am I gonna do?" So I started looking for an apartment right away. And let me tell you something about finding an apartment here. You gotta pay for application every time you $25 and up for an application. You gotta have a great credit score.
$50 in every adult. Yeah, and that's true. So it's I've been hearing this about from people who have been complaining about the application fees. They're charging $50 to $75 per adult that will be living in there in the apartment, right? And so sometimes that can be 2 to 4 people, 4 adults, and then they're not getting the apartment, and so that's they're like losing that money, and then they're being told, no, I'm sorry, apply for this apartment over here. Like these management companies are sending them to different apartments, taking the application fee, and they're not getting the apartment. And so, and another thing is the credit score, which, I mean, if you are having financial hardships and you need financial assistance to pay your rent, there's a high probability that your credit score is not going to be high. I mean, you could still have funds and still have not, a credit score. I mean, just different reasons for, right? And so that's, I don't get that. And another thing that I don't like is that, they include the income of college students. So if a college student, you have a child, a college student, they have a part-time job, they actually include that income, which I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I think that college students should be able to save that money, apply that toward college or whatever, but they're in college and that's just it. They should just leave it at that, right? But, that's how it is.
Get a co-signer. You got to, in my case, they asked for my landlord's New York State ID. I mean, everything, including your firstborn. They want everything. And when I was going through that process, I said to myself, oh my God, I thought about my people in Southwest Yonkers. I said, especially on Nodine Hill, where they live in a slum-like area.
Tell me about it.
And I thought about them. I said, if this is difficult for me, and I've got resources, trust me, I got resources. How is it going to be for my people? There's no way. And no wonder they're living where they're living, because they have no other alternative. They've got nowhere to go. So as I was going through that, I was empathizing more and more and more with the people. And I called, I looked for an attorney. And let me tell you something. I've been scared twice in my life. I mean, fear of the unknown. The greatest fear in my life was when my 2 brothers were murdered, and I was waiting to see whether or not they were going to live. I've been scared one other time, and that was with this housing insecurity, because all I said to myself was, this is going to be difficult. I can't, in my case, I thought I had 8 days. 3 dogs. Oh, that's another problem. They don't want you with your pets. And
3.
So I got an attorney. When the attorney called me, her name was Zara. She said, Lorraine, I'm going to take your case. I said, what? Let me tell you something. What I felt, the sense of relief that I felt.
So I just want to play that a little bit because, as I'm sitting there, I'm wondering, Lorraine, what are you talking about? Weren't you making like $100,000 always, working along Phil Amacone, Mayor Mike Spano, and all this other stuff? Like, what are you saying? To me, this is just, Lorraine being told, hey, come up here, tell this story. I'm sure she's probably told the same story maybe like 1,000 times, probably more, 1,000,000 times. This is the whole corazón Christopher Johnson crew. They got these people together. They come out here and let's do this rally so we can look like we're doing something. This isn't a new problem. This isn't a new problem. Now you're talking about it because the elections are here. That's pretty much it. That's why. I mean, folks, this happens every time. Every time. It's a pattern. When are we going to say, yo, why didn't you do something about it already? Why haven't you passed legislation for this already? Why do you wait till the elections are here? And are you going to actually get this passed? Corazon's introduced legislation before. I don't know if, it's gotten passed. I think the Affordable Housing Registry did, although they already had one. But the Slumlord Registry, whatever happened to that? You didn't make a big stink about it. Nothing. You didn't introduce any legislation to have an attorney for people who are being evicted before. Right? This is an issue that's been ongoing, and there's more to it than just having an attorney. And yes, that's a great idea. They should have representation. Many people don't know this process. They need someone to guide them through it. Hopefully someone that's truly representing them in this corrupt system here and is not on the side of the corruption, right? One could only hope. But there's so much more to it. Many people are behind on their rent now more than ever because they're losing their jobs. Developers are taking over land, forcing businesses closed. People are losing their jobs. Jobs are being systematically eliminated here in Yonkers. Over by Ludlow, the proposal over there is going to shut down businesses. There's a lot of businesses that are over there. And all those people are going to lose their jobs. And they have nowhere to go. They're not going to have any money to find a new place here in Yonkers anyway, because it's becoming more expensive just to build luxury residentials. And that's in your district, Corazon. So those people are probably going to, God willing not, they won't, they'll be okay. But many people are going to probably be going through the eviction because they lost their job, because their company that they work for closed down because they wanted to put up some luxury rentals in that place. I'm thinking of the bus depot, thinking of businesses on Woodworth. The meat business closed. They're closing the European Beauty because they just like, we're not going to get anywhere with the city. They want us to do all these changes now, and they're not going to get us no permits. So they have to go. Otherwise, it's a fight where they're going to be losing money, and it doesn't make sense. And so people will lose their job there. And people are losing their homes. Corazon and Shanae on Warburton, people are losing their homes, their properties, only to go and live in an apartment in Nodine Hill where Lorraine said is, and that's where Corazon has been representing since she's been on the council. And nothing has changed there. Yet, she wants to be the mayor. But here's the excuse. As a council person, you could only do so much. That's the lamest excuse ever. Then you shouldn't even be a council person. What's the point? You just want the money? Because if you can't do anything, then why are you there? So we need real leadership. We need people that don't double talk. We need people that mean what they say and say what they mean. We need people that are about action. Not because they say it, but because they've done it. That's what we need. A lot of people are getting pushed out. And I ultimately believe that once they're done with all the developments, the people that they're building those apartments for have not even gotten to Yonkers yet. Just keep the apartments warm for us, please. Then we're going to see a real mass evictions. And I've mentioned this before. I had a source within the post office that told me about mass eviction letters going out daily. And so that's what's happening here in the city of Yonkers. Now they're bringing it up because I'm running for office. I'm running for mayor. and I care about the people. You know, I see some of these organizations, and you know, I some of them knew who I was. Others, I just had to introduce myself, but they did come up to me and ask me because I did make a crazy entrance, right? And just normally who I am. My wife always says, you always just win. But this is because as I was getting out my car, I noticed that guy from the Yonkers Voice walking across the street. And as he passes the vehicle that I was in, he looks at the license plate and obviously memorized it really quick because he stood there for a second and then he starts typing in his phone. So this is what these people do, right? So I said to him, I said, just take a picture, right? And then I walk over to him and I start talking to him. I said, listen, I don't understand what your problem is. Like, people are sending me screenshots of you and Brian Harrod talking about me every day. You guys are on social media having conversations about me. You guys are posting my wife and my kids every day. What's the problem? We're right here now. We're in person, face to face. What's the issue? Then he asked me if I took my meds. That's what he says. Did you take your meds today? As if that's some joke, because there are people that take meds. There are people that need medication because they have real problems, Rue Rose. That's not a joke. And so I just ignore that and I say, what is your issue? I'm here, right? What's the problem? And he just starts telling me to stop harassing him. Mind you, the guy that's posting stuff with his partner, Brian, every day about me, my wife, and kids is telling me to stop harassing him because I'm asking him what is his issue, right? So people saw me talking to him because then Ruvro starts telling the police that I'm harassing him. And they just start laughing. They start laughing until he keeps saying, he's harassing me. And then they go, are you serious? That's what they said, officer, are you serious? I said, officer, I'm just asking him a question. Okay, this guy harasses me every day online, and I'm asking him why. And so some people saw us there, and they came over, and so I introduced myself to them, and I told them who I was, and I told them who he was, right? And I said that I'm Freddy Vazquez from Basement Politics, and I'm here to expose the truth, right? Because some of you folks want to just stay on the surface of it, but we're not going to get any real change being surfacey. No. We have to know the real truth. We have to get deep into it in order to make real change. We have to get deep. We have to understand fully what's going on here in the city of Yonkers. So a lot of them didn't know me, but I'm glad I got to meet them because they need to know who I am. They need to know what I'm about. They're just hearing one candidate, which is Courthouse Song. They truly just believe that she is the one that's going to truly make the change. And it's not anything that personal. It's just, we've seen it. We've seen the work. We've seen the results. I mean, they speak for themselves, even though they don't say much, right? So that's what I'm saying. We have to understand what's truly the issue here. And I don't think, Chris Johnson, I like Chris Johnson. I support him over Shanae Williams, but you got to step up too, man. You have to step up too. That's kind of crazy about that grant money that you gave to the Sarah Lawrence thing, and now they're going to take them away. They're going to close that place down. That's like a waste of money. It's a waste of money. You could have linked up with an organization like me, like mine, and we could have did some real things in the community. Things that impact the people that really need to have positive impact. And I've been to that Sarah Lawrence. That thing is cool. I took the kids there, the little prodigies, for our summer camp. We went into they put overalls on, waterproof, and they went into the water and captured some little critters. Great. But we could have done amazing things with $600,000, Chris. Amazing things. Please start considering other organizations, man. New ideas. Municipal Operations and Public Safety meeting. When is it? Today's the 24th, in 4 days, 3/28/23. If you're interested, please be advised that a Municipal Operations and Public Safety Committee meeting has been scheduled for Tuesday, March 28th, 2023 at 6 p.m. The meeting will occur at City Hall in the City Council chambers, 4th floor. In the agenda items, a resolution by the City of Yonkers acknowledging and denouncing the continuing illegal operation of cannabis dispensaries in the city of Yonkers and throughout the state, and calling for immediate changes to the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act to give local municipalities discretion and authority to regulate and control the dispensaries to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public, and especially the children of the city of Yonkers. Well, I happen to know for a fact that not all of them get shut down. It all depends on who's paying. That's right. Some pay, they stay. Others don't, they go. If you bring heat, you go. That's why they closed that one down on McLean. Initially, they had left it open after a kid had bought some THC-like product and was rushed to the hospital. They did nothing. I went and I reported on it the next day. They were raiding it. But I've been told by, individuals of city employees going into these bodegas, shaking them down. And so if you set up a system of pay to play, don't you think that individuals are going to open up shop and say, hey, I'll just pay. I'm ready to play. And so you invite this trouble. So when are we going to investigate that building department? When are we going to have some agencies investigate 87 Nepperhan Avenue? That's all I'm saying. These agencies right here have not turned in their financial, reportings, their financial statements in quite some time. The Yonkers Community Development Agency, the Yonkers Joint Schools Construction Board, Yonkers Parking Authority, and the Yonkers Downtown Waterfront Corporation. The other ones are other agencies throughout other cities and towns in Westchester, and I'm sure they may have some connection. I didn't dig that deep. But I want to talk about the Yonkers Joint Schools Construction Board. What is that? The Yonkers Joint School Construction Board was established and operates pursuant to Chapter 355 of the laws of the state of New York, 2016, which was enacted on September 29, 2016, and is known as the Yonkers City School District Joint Schools Construction and Modernization Act. The mission of that board is to accomplish the purposes set forth in the act, which include the creation of new school facilities and modernization of existing school facilities in Yonkers in order to meet the needs of the city school children. And I've spoke about this before. This board had put out a report stating that there was a need for 3 new schools, along with a list of repairs and renovations that were needed for many of the schools here in the city of Yonkers. As I've mentioned, many of them are over 100 years old, the oldest being 136 years old. Now, there are building 1 out of the 3, the one that's being built over on McLean. But when is that set to open? And that's gone over budget. The initial costs were going to be, $80 million, which is crazy. And then they went back and asked for more money, which they did. They got it approved. They're not using union labor, no local guys, no 456 to build this school. Why not? It's not like Yonkers has to pay the majority of it. In fact, Yonkers' responsibility was only about $24 million. I only say only because it's all relative. And they bonded for that. So they basically borrowed the money to pay for that. So why didn't they use our local guys, 456, if the state and federal government is footing most of it? Why? Why did they use some company out of Connecticut that once built a school out there for $44 million? But here in Yonkers, they need close to $100 million, and that's just for 1, and they need 3, and they don't have the money to build the other 2. And so I don't understand why we haven't had some money stashed away from the money that we were receiving from Empire City Casino. Just 1 year's savings could have got us mostly there, right? We're getting $19-20 million from the casino. So 1 year, 2-3 years, we would have the money there. And we wouldn't even have to issue bonds. No debt, right? What are bonds? Bonds are debt instruments, debt investments. They're more of a conservative investment. They're seen as a safer alternative to stocks, but you want to diversify your portfolio. So, of course, you want to have stocks and bonds as they have an inverse relationship, meaning usually when stocks are up, bonds may be down and vice versa. And so you hedge against downturns in the economy by buying bonds, leveraging that the needs of municipalities and school districts and stuff who issue bonds in order to raise capital. So they issue these bonds to investors in order to raise however much they need so they can do whatever project it is that they are interested in doing. Bonds typically pay a regular interest payment before maturing or coming to the end of the bond. When it matures, that's the end of it, and that's when you get your money back. Your regular payments that you receive are your profits if you are the investor buying these bonds from the city of Yonkers. Right? But that puts the city and the school district in debt, so they have to pay that back with interest. And so we're building one school. I don't know. Where's the money? Why do we have to constantly issue bonds for anything for the school? Laptops, issue bonds. Need pencils, issue bonds. That's just putting us into more debt. Right? So basically, if you don't know how bonds work, if you're an investor, you're looking to buy bonds, a lot of mutual funds, buy into them, big institutional investors. You have to buy a certain quantity, usually sold in bulks of 100 or, and they're usually $1,000. That's the par value. But sometimes they can be below $1,000, which would be a discount. If they're above $1,000, they're being sold at a premium. And you get your money back when they mature. And so when they mature, the city of Yonkers has to pay all the people who bought into these bonds back. So they have to hope that they have this money available. And sometimes they issue what's known as callable bonds, meaning that they can call them at any time before they mature, before the term, the ending of the term, right? And they do this because the economy, different, what's going on in the economy, the interest rates, and the hope is to, save some money by calling them early. So just a little bit of information on bonds, if you even care about what bonds are. Oh man, when I got my Series 7, which is the license to transact in the stock market, I studied the heck out of bonds and options also. And thank God I did, because most of the test was options and bonds, and I did really well first time. Passed it. I remember running down, I was in the financial district where I took the test. I ran down to the firm so happy. Sweating bullets. I don't miss those days. Right? So, this is important because we need the schools. As more and more people come into the city, although a lot of people are leaving, we need to build more schools, and we need to improve the schools for the students that we do have now. For far too long, our kids have not gotten a quality education. I'm sorry to say, and this is no disrespect. And unfortunately, our kids are also losing and missing out on a sports program, a real robust sports program, and anything that's introduced gets taken away right away. And that's sad. My wife is hoping that, they won't cut the cheerleading program because of funding issues. She started this program when she got to Roosevelt, after seeing games where our team, our students didn't have cheerleaders cheering for them on the football field. So she got together with another staff member who happened to be a cheerleader once upon a time. My wife was also in some step squad thing. once upon a time, and they brought this group of girls together. They did tryouts in a short amount of time. They got a team together. They had routines, and they were out there at the shows. And they loved it. You have to see exactly what I'm talking about. They were committed to this. They wanted to come to practice. They would stay after school. They would come on the weekends to practice. That means that they were not anywhere where they can get in trouble. They were doing something productive off the streets. And they do give scholarships for cheerleading. But the program is not going to be running anymore because of funding issues. They needed some mats, $2,000. However, Wilson Kimball offered to provide these developers with a consultant so they can figure out their proposal at the expense of taxpayers. Oftentimes, taxpayers are the ones footing the bills for these environmental studies, as in the case of the Ludlow proposal, where Corazon Pineda Isaac, our councilwoman for District 3, who has aspirations of being our mayor, represents there, and they use $500,000 of taxpayer money to pay for the study so that the developers can build their project and they can make money while pushing people out. Why did the taxpayers foot the bill? I asked Wilson Kimball, were we paying? She refused to answer. Yet they don't have money for our kids. That's what upsets me. And so we're waiting to see if they're going to fund it. If not, we're going to find a way to get the money. Because if they can't do it, we're going to do it. That's the attitude we'd have to have. If you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. This is the school board, construction board, joint, whatever you want to call it. These are the members here. Yonkers Mayor Mike Spano recently swore in the city's new Yonkers Joint Schools Construction Board at Yonkers City Hall. The board appointment comes after Governor Andrew Cuomo signed legislation allowing Yonkers to create the 9-member board, which will help oversee the city's Rebuild Yonkers Schools initiative, but they don't have money for the other two. So what initiative is this? You just created this board. You started with one. What they did was they sucked money from wherever they could real quick. It's like, creating a fake company. So you can get a business loan and then you don't even do the business. You just take the loan and run. Or creating a fake nonprofit so you can apply for grants. So you take the money and run. Or in the case of a relative I had, or I still have, whose partner started a construction company and they got a bunch of money up front to do jobs and never did. Police caught up with that guy. And so is that what happened here? Slowly building up this school, but it's really about sucking out money, funneling money, putting the taxpayer, the city of Yonkers, into debt. New Gorton, where? And the one with Lionsgate and Syracuse over by the Old Leak and Watts. Where's the money? Today, we take the next step in our mission to rebuild Yonkers schools, says Spano. This board allows us to take tangible actions that require the opinion and expertise of key community stakeholders who will help us secure the necessary funding from our state capital, execute relevant studies, and gather data. And why wasn't this done sooner? And I love how he says the board allows us to take tangible actions that require the opinion and expertise of key community stakeholders. Now, who are these community stakeholders? Let's read. The 9 voting members of the Yonkers Joint Schools Construction Board include Mayor Mike Spano, School Board President Lopez, Superintendent Quesada, Robert Rijos, PTA President. I believe, is that from the school over there? I forgot what it's called. Miguel Chavez, who was that? Cuevas, construction project manager. Ronald Matten, I know that guy. Finance and operations manager. Pastor James Hassel, Kingdom Christian Cultural Center of Yonkers. Stephen Frey, retired Yonkers teacher and former Yonkers Federation teachers president. And the Honorable Andrew Spano, former Westchester County executive. Those are the individuals. Same individuals that get put onto every board. The average age of Yonkers school buildings is 75 years, with many as old as 100, 136, making them some of the oldest in New York State. The district is also one of 2 districts in New York with a growing enrollment, teaching 27,000 students, which is currently 4,500 seats over capacity. Wow. That's a lot. And another thing that I talked about in a podcast was these investments that they're doing now, where they invest in like tax breaks and pilots and stuff. Like they created investment products out of this. And so Yonkers is utilizing this. Roosevelt and Cross Incorporated, a registered broker dealer that this is from 2021 that specializes in tax exempt and taxable municipal debt. Today announced the successful completion of a $25 million City of Yonkers Industrial Development Agency school facility revenues bond issue for the new community school project. This state-supported revenue bond issue is the first debt issuance for the Phase 1 plan, which consists of several projects under construction by the Yonkers Joint Schools Construction Board. The Phase 1 plan, authorized up to $523 million, is expected to be completed by 2025. Well, hopefully Yonkers will come up with their portion. The issue is the first of several financing initiatives that support the Rebuild Yonkers schools effort, backing the new construction and infrastructure improvement to existing educational facilities in the city of Yonkers. This effort to improve Yonkers public schools was initially mandated in 2016. As book running senior manager for the issue, Roosevelt and Cross generated $50.78 million in orders, $50.78 million, almost $51 million in orders, and placed the bonds with 18 institutional investors. We saw significant interest from institutional investors in this important offering, says Scott Monahan, Executive Vice President with Roosevelt and Cross, who serves the firm's public finance department. The initial issuance represents the dedication from all of the financing team professionals. We expect additional success as the Phase 1 project continues to come to the market for financing. Hopefully the economy won't collapse. The Yonkers Joint Schools Construction Board was established and operates pursuant to Yonkers. Well, I mentioned that. So hopefully we'll get some of these schools up. We definitely need them. But last I heard from the mayor, they didn't have the money for the second and third yet. Right. And this is the company here, Roosevelt and Cross, and they have they do a lot of school districts and municipalities, bonds and stuff like that. If you're interested, check that out. And what else here? Parking Authority, City of Yonkers, just one of the agencies there that has not turned in their financial reportings. And so, yeah, that's about it. Actually, you know what? And if you want to check this out, I'm going to post this up, a plan for redevelopment on the Yonkers waterfront. What is the master plan? I mentioned this before. A master plan is not a specific development plan. Rather, it provides a template or pattern for future development. Since the master plan is not a specific development proposal, it would be up to the city of Yonkers to ensure that any actual development proposals follows the master plan. So if you are a developer looking to do something here, you have to follow the master plan. Overall, the Yonkers master plan focuses towards economic renewal through improving the deteriorated waterfront area, transforming it from an industrial wasteland to a residential, recreational, and commercial zone. This transformation would be a gradual change currently anticipated to take up to 10 years. Since there are no firm development plans included in the master plan, the final product could be somewhat different than what is being discussed here. And so you should pay attention to that. 15 years to build the new Gordon High School. Really, 15 years. Well, obviously that won't be for us. That'll be for the kids of all the people that work at the movie studios and the production companies, because those are the people that are taking over Yonkers. And so, yeah, they're also going to do a lot of stuff with the carpet mills there, turning them into apartments, I believe. Public open space and blah, blah, blah. So if I'll put this up if you're interested. Downtown unraveled, three-pronged plan. I just want to show this here. I don't know if you can see it there. So you see these areas here. This is where they're doing the development, right? This is Chicken Island. North Broadway. This is AMS. North Broadway here. That whole project that they're doing up on North Broadway. Getty Squared. And you got the Teutonia. But remember, you also have that right here on Prescott, or Prospect, I should say, and Buena Vista. And then you got the Hudson, the 44 Hudson view, the one that was approved with a bunch of controversy, excuse me. That's going to be bringing in 230-something apartments. Teutonia is 900 apartments. Then if you go up further over this way, you have the Extel bringing in about 1,700 apartments. You're going to have about 2,000 apartments coming here. Maybe like another 2,000 here, maybe 1,500 here. I mean, look, where are these people going to go? This is crazy. Everybody coming out of here to go this way, up Ashburn maybe, or down. It's going to be crazy. So they're hoping that, I guess, everybody just hops on the train and goes this way. That's crazy. It's going to be so crowded. And really quick, before I go off, I just wanted to show this. Yonkers is kicking people out. They're doing eminent domain throughout the city as well. And if you don't know what eminent domain is when the city can come and take your property because they, have what they say is justifiable reasons for having your properties removed. They will pay you, but they lowball you. And I know someone that this happened to. They had some properties that were worth total $1 million. They knocked them down through eminent domain and offered less than $500,000. And so this individual had to then go to court to try and fight to get what the market value was. And so this is a case here where it was happening again. And the owner was like, no. They wanted to do eminent domain. But of course, you have these corrupt judges that are always on the side of the city. The petitioner, City of New York. This is the City of New York. This is when they kicked them out and did eminent domain so they could put Extel apartments. The petitioner, City of Yonkers, is the owner of an improved 3.64-acre parcel of real property located at 59 Babcock Place in the City of Yonkers, adjacent to the Hudson River waterfront. The subject parcel is occupied by the petitioner's Metropolitan Transportation Authority, the MTA bus company, pursuant to a letter agreement with the city, and is used as a bus depot. On March 29, 2017, the City of Yonkers Industrial Development Agency, remember that has the mayor, that has Jamie McGill Spano, the mayor's sister-in-law. James Kavanaugh is the president. He is the husband of Wilson Kimball and also a partner with Nick Spano at the lobbying firm Empire Strategic Planning. Yonkers Industrial Development Agency adopted a resolution to commence condemnation of the subject parcel for the purpose of returning the underutilized parcel to productive use. So they basically passed a resolution saying, we're going to take this and it's underutilized and we're going to take it to have a productive use, even though, having a bus depot that transports people, where they keep buses that transports people to various places, right? That's not productive. In furtherance of the Alexander Street Urban Renewal Plan. and the Alexander Street master plan. So remember, I told you, talked about what a master plan is. After a public hearing and submission of comments, the agency issued a determination and findings in which it resolved to condemn the city's fee interest in the subject's parcel, but to exclude the MTA's leasehold interest from condemnation. The petitioner commenced this proceeding pursuant to EDPL 207, whatever that is, to review the determination. In reviewing a municipality's determination to exercise its power of eminent domain, this court must decide whether a public use benefit or purpose will be served by the proposed acquisition. Well, is that a public use, purpose, or benefit? Apartments, luxury apartments? I don't know. What qualifies as a public purpose or public use is broadly, I love this wording, is broadly defined as encompassing virtually any project that may confer upon the public a benefit, utility, or advantage. And so they sell it like, oh, we need housing. There's a housing need. There's not a luxury housing need. But that's probably how they got around this, right? To kick them out, including to stimulate the local economy, create jobs, which is not doing, because if you go down there, those license plates say Connecticut, New Jersey. I've even seen Pennsylvania now. And provide infrastructure. A property owner seeking to challenge a municipality's finding that a proposed condemnation will further a public use has the burden. So the person that owns the property has the burden of establishing the determination, does not rationally relate to a conceivable public purpose. Here, the petitioner failed, of course, to establish that the proposed condemnation does not rationally relate to a conceivable public purpose. The agency's taking of the subject parcel in furtherance of urban renewal and to increase the economic viability and tax base of the city of Yonkers are legitimate public purposes sufficient to support the proposed, eminent domain that they've. Contrary to the petitioner's contention, the agency subsequently complied with the procedural requirements of EDPL 202 and 203 by conducting a public hearing. Did anyone go to this public hearing? Did anyone know about this public hearing? Right? So this is what's happening. Imagine they did this to New York City, the MTA. So imagine what they're doing to private individuals, small businesses. Did they have a public hearing? I don't know. I'm sure they put it somewhere in Brian Harrod's Yonkers Newswire where people don't go. However, we agree with it says, however, we agree with the petitioners that the proposed condemnation is prohibited under the doctrine of prior public use. Under the doctrine of prior public use, land already devoted to a public use, right? That's what I'm saying. It's public transportation they're providing, may not be condemned absent legislative authority for the particular acquisition. However, land already devoted, until they did. So then they got the state involved, right? And so they ended up taking that property. So I just wanted to show that because I think it's important. And not only, they're showing that Yonkers is doing it, but then you have it's happening in other areas right here in White Plains. And they're using the determination of the Yonkers case as a case study in this proceeding. I hope you know what's going on here, folks. This is a giant wealth transfer that's happening. These folks understand that we're gonna go into a new economy. We're gonna have a new currency. It's over. The party's over. The dollar is weakening. If you don't know, we have gone away from what's kept the dollar strong, which is oil, the petrodollar. We're going away from that. It's all electric now, right? So what are we doing with the dollar now? They're collapsing it. And they're purposely going to cause bank runs, as we've seen recently. Are you watching the news with the Silicon Valley Bank? They're collapsing the smaller banks. So the bigger banks are forcing the smaller banks to collapse, and they're gobbling them up, taking their assets and everything. So they're condensing the banking system because it's going to be one global system. It's going to be a digital currency system. And that's what they've done. And that's why they issued or they created Bitcoin. And many people said, oh, it's great because it's a decentralized currency. Oh my gosh, really? Were people really saying it's decentralized? The internet is centralized. It's controlled. They can unplug it and you're done. It's been a gradual, getting away from cash, if you notice, right? They started with credit cards, then debit cards, right? That was the first, on checks, right? Then credit cards and debit cards. And now we're going all the way to digital currency. So that's what's happening. So they're gobbling up. The rich people notice, right? The very rich people notice. So what they're doing is they're taking their dollars, their paper currency, and now converting it to land, to property, to real estate. That's why you see all this happening. They're converting what they have now because when the conversion happens, they want to have property. At the end of the day, whatever the value of that property is, it's not going to be valued in whatever the digital currency is, right? And then you're going to have, they're going to have tenants, people paying them rent in this new currency. They don't care what the currency is, if it's digital, if it's paper, whatever, as long as they're getting it. And so that's what people are doing, the ones that know and understand this. And so they're converting their worthless cash, which it really is. It's a big Ponzi scheme. The party's over. And guys at the top are saying that the party's over. They're converting it to properties, really quick, stashing it, right? And also, that's also helping them provide tax shelters, all kinds of tax shelters for them, so they don't have to pay taxes on a lot of that money. A lot of that money's coming from overseas, and they're buying up land, property. So they're doing this giant wealth transfer. So all this money that they've issued and, Congress has issued in these bills to help us, to help the economy, to stimulate the economy, they're just giving away the money to their friends. You might got $600 or $1,000 or whatever they gave people, but the very rich people got billions. They got billions. Obama did it in 2008. He gave them so much money, the banks, billions, too big to fail. They should have let them fail. They would have learned a lesson. But they scared everyone into thinking that if they fail, we're done. No, let them fail. And every other greedy person. Because to tell you the truth, a lot of us were impacted anyway. How many people lost their retirement, right? How many people lost their 401ks in their homes anyway? At the end of the day, it was the little people that lost. So they should have let them fail. So what they're doing now is they're transferring the wealth. We hit the debt limit, here in the country at $31 trillion back in January. You would think that the country would stop spending money, yet the Federal Reserve is continuing to print money. They don't care. They get it back with interest. And billions of dollars of that is being shipped out to the Ukraine. Billions of dollars of it American money has been shipped out to Israel for years. Why? We're in debt, and you're sending billions to the Ukraine and billions to Israel. Why? We, the American people, built the Iron Dome. Do you know what that is? That's this technology that's surrounding Israel pretty much, or Jerusalem anyway. And so if they launch any rockets, they don't even make it into the city, because there's this whole thing that just, so we pay for that. American people pay for that, right? So they're collapsing this. And I'm only telling you because this is real. There's going to be a run on the banks soon. It's happening. They're going to convert to digital currency. So this is what's happening, why they're grabbing up all this land, why they're doing all this development and stuff. They're changing everything around. This is the reset. Happens every 30 to 40 years, but we have big drastic ones every 100 years. Just go back into history. You'll see, back in the 30s, we got off the gold standard. Well, no, we actually, that's when the Federal Reserve was introduced. And then in the 70s, we got off the, we got, back in 71, we got off the fiat, the gold standard, and we got into the fiat system, which is basically paper money, right? It's not backed by anything. And I can show you video of, I forgot who it was, is a guy telling Congress that the United States has not owned gold since the 1970s. So gold has not been backing our dollar since the 1970s. We have been living under one big Ponzi scheme since we went to fiat system. That's a fact. And most people don't even know this. All right. Why do you think they introduced credit cards? It was a way to just prolong what's going to happen now, right? So that way people didn't have to have the cash right there. They can just pay it, right? That's what it was about. Putting people into debt, having people be able to, not to need cash, right? Because why do you think we had the change shortage? Remember when we had the change shortage, right? It's crazy. So that's why they introduced credit cards and debit cards. So people wouldn't, they wouldn't have to have the cash. Yeah, thank you, Richard Nixon. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not a crook. I am not a crook. They took silver out of their coinage too in 19. Yeah, I know. I mean, and a lot of, I'm glad that you mentioned this. I love having these kind of conversations. A lot of people just don't know about a lot of that stuff, but it's so important, and it impacts them every day. It does. It's going to impact them greatly now, and people just don't, and they don't care, and they need to. Where did the $42 billion in SVB go? Wouldn't have anything to do with the drug cartel in New Hampshire. I don't know. Quite possibly, but they probably sent it to Ukraine. That's what happened there, I believe, is that that's where they were laundering their money, right? So they were sending everything bad was going on over there in Ukraine, and they were sending a lot of money. Biden had a lot of money in banks stashed over there. And so they wanted to protect it, right? So they got this guy in there who was an actor comedian 2 years before becoming the president, and now he's on time. Hey, did you guys see him in the pumps, the high heels, doing in a tight leather pants, doing the Beyonce dance? I mean, that's the president over there, right? The comedian actor who actually became the president under the fake party that he created for a movie. And now it's a real party, right? And so they got him in there, and then they told him, hey, push to become a member of the UN, right? And so even though there was already a deal in place that, countries close to Ukraine and other countries would not be members of the UN because Russia, it was, presented a security threat to them. So this guy, once he got in there, started pushing to become part of the UN, right? Or NATO. I'm sorry, was it NATO? Yeah, I think it's NATO. And so that means that they would be able to put NATO forces there, or UN forces there, which is right up on the border of Russia. And Putin wasn't having that. And I don't blame the guy. And then not only that, they had their money over there. So Putin said, I'm going to go get that. Let's go get their money. Let's go in there because these guys is playing around. And so that's what really was happening there. It's all about the thieves protecting their money, their interests, all the illegal activity that they were doing over there, their bio labs and everything, That's what it's about. But people, want to say, Ukraine, we got Ukraine. I support Ukraine, but you don't support Palestine. If you don't support Palestine, you cannot, with a straight face, say you support Ukraine because of atrocities that's going on over there. Okay. And by the way, do you know how many people Barack Obama killed with his drone strikes? How many people? A lot more than Putin has in Ukraine, that's for sure. A lot more. No one gets on Obama for that. He killed a lot of innocent people. Many people who were killed in these drone strikes were innocent people just living next to bad guys, or they were assumed to be bad guys. No one talks about that. Like bodies of women and children from Obama-ordered drone strikes. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the bulldozers that literally were ramming through Palestinians' homes as they were inside of it. I got video of them running out of their home as a bulldozer coming through. Nobody cares about that. But the minute the media tells us about this atrocity in the Ukraine and the Russians are doing it, everybody's got a Ukrainian flag. You see that? You understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? You get it, right? You talk about Christopher Columbus and you want to rip the statues down, because of the Native Americans, which were not Indians, by the way, if you don't know, right? Because of whatever genocide. But what about Palestine? We got to see that. There's actually video of it, but we don't say nothing about that. We always support Israel. And I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about Israel, a country. The country that slowly took out the Palestinians from their homes and their land. It was once called Palestine, and now it's Israel. You guys remember that? And that was done through what? What was the document? The Balfour document? Was it Balfour, is it? No, not the Balfour document. I forgot what it was. It was actually made out to a Rothschild. Right? Because the bankers promised to fund the wars. If the bankers didn't promise the Jewish leaders at the time, Israel, they would have never funded them during World War II, and America and Britain would have lost against the Germans, the Nazis. That's a fact. So they needed help. They were losing the war, actually, the Americans the Americans weren't in it yet. The British were losing the war. And the Jewish bankers promised the British that they would get the Americans into it if they guaranteed them Israel or Palestine at the time. And so they did. They got them into World War II, the Americans, because of the Japanese invasion, right? The Pearl Harbor. We didn't know. Kind of like 9/11. We didn't know. And then now we're in a war. Right? So the Jewish bankers funded all that stuff, and they ended up giving it. And you can go online and read the letter that was written to the Rothschild, saying, here you go, just like we promised, Palestine. You can call it Israel now, and you can kick the people out. It's not hard to figure out why how you say it? Ghislaine Maxwell bought a house there. Yeah, she bought a house in New Hampshire, right? Because they're so corrupt there, the politicians, she knew she'd be protected there. So yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, was it Balfour? Was it the Balfour Declaration? No, I forgot. I don't know if it was that. That's what it's called. I forget. They gave Israel, Palestine. I'm gonna get up out of here. I've been on too long. I love history, though. That's the thing for me. My dad got me into history, and it's very important that we understand it. So, I see it. So that's why I'm very cynical when it comes to things like, people talking about Christopher Columbus, and what he did to the Native Americans, and they want to rip down the statues and stuff. But Israel did that to the Palestinians. I don't get it. Like, none of you saw Christopher Columbus and what he did to the Native Americans, right? But you can see what the Israelis were doing to the Palestinians. Just saying, right? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, folks, I'm Freddy Vazquez. I'll be back on, with Anthony DiMaggio around 8 o'clock. What time is it? Oh, man, less than an hour, folks. We'll be on. I'm hearing that people want to watch. People are anticipating the show, so it should be a good one. Let me see what it says here. Julian, they believe. I don't know. Is it the Balfour Doctrine? Is that what it is? Viva Palestine. Yeah. I'm going to find it. Why I'm thinking of something else. Anyway, when I find out, I'll talk to you. Folks, yeah, it is. You're right. All right, Balfour. I knew it. That's what I said, too. And it was World War I, yeah. Establishing a Jewish homeland, right? And this is interesting. And you guys know about the Bolshevik Revolution. The Balfour Doctrine was a letter written to British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to Lionel Walter Rothschild. You see? It's real, man. This conspiracy stuff is real. In which he expressed the British government's support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. The long-term effect of the Balfour Doctrine and the British government's involvement in Palestine's affairs are felt even today. Zionism, Britain's acknowledgement and support of Zionism and Zionism's focus on establishing a Jewish homeland in Palestine emerged from growing concerns about the direction of World War I. By mid-1917, Britain and France were mirrored with in a virtual stalemate with Germany on the Western Front, while efforts to defeat Turkey, the Gallipoli Peninsula, that's it, right, had failed spectacularly. On the Eastern Front, the fate of one ally, Russia, was uncertain. The Russian Revolution, which in March had toppled the Tsar Nicholas II, that wasn't the Russian Revolution. Actually, that was the Bolshevik Revolution, and those were guys that came from America. They, Trotsky, what is it, and Lenin, right? Those guys were Jewish guys from America who went over to Russia and started this revolution to take out the czars, and that's when you saw Stalin come in. So it was a nefarious thing. It wasn't, and they killed this guy's entire family, even little kids. That's messed up. And they were Jewish, these guys, these revolutionaries that came from America to spark a Russian revolution. It's all a fake. And the Russian government was struggling against widespread opposition. Although the United States had just entered the war on the Allied side, a sizable infusion of American troops was not scheduled to arrive onto the continent until the following year. Well, anyway, folks, I'm out here. Freddy Vazquez. History is great. I love it. I love history. It's always good to know the past. That way we know where we're going. Don't forget, join me in a few, less than an hour. I'll be on with Anthony DiMaggio. I'm Freddy Vazquez. This is Basement Politics. Again, if you didn't watch the podcast from the beginning, check it out. I talked about tenants' rights, the rally that they had today over at the courthouse, where Lorraine Lopez, Christopher Johnson, Corazon Pineda Isaac spoke, and as well as others. Oh, Deanna Sanchez from Yonkers Sanctuary Movement and her partner who started Sanctuary Movement, they were called beggars. Remember that? Those were the beggars. I guess. No! Join me about an hour. I'll be on with Anthony DiMaggio, former Yonkers police lieutenant. We'll pick up where we left off. We'll talk about some interesting things also. Yeah, that's fine, honey. No problem, babe. My wife just leaving me a text here. I'm a house husband.